is the 2022 Hampton University Sports and Entertainment Homecoming Panel. And we just want to bring you some really heavy hitters that have come from Hampton University. And it is my pleasure to have them introduce themselves and join me today. And so I'm really excited. And I'm, again, just really excited. Thank you to Dr. Orr, to Dr. Charlton, and to everyone within the sports management program, physical education. Again, this conversation is for you students. And so we hope that you enjoy. And then we'll jump right into it. So, SA, if you could announce yourself and introduce yourself, please do.
Yeah, before we get started, are you able to turn your YouTube off? Because I think it's coming through the sound. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. I am S.A. Iguodose, class of 2009, over 13. Happy to be here. I am currently a entertainment lawyer at Apple. Original Content Counsel is my official title, and I support all the marketing and publicity around Apple TV Plus. So all of our shows and films that are coming out and winning lots of awards these days. Spent a lot of my career in the NFL, working at the NFL League office, the Carolina Panthers, and most recently running a exciting startup, House of Athlete and I Am Athlete podcast alongside Brandon Marshall. Yeah, and play volleyball at Hampton. And really just blessed to, represent Hampton, represent HBCUs. I went to FAMU for law school. So this runs deep in my blood, and excited to talk to you guys today.
Yeah, my name is Justin Tinsley. I'm a class of 2008 graduate. That's Onyx 7. Currently, I am a senior sports and culture reporter for Anscape, that's formerly known as The Undefeated, but also some other things that I'm blessed to be able to do. I'm a weekly panelist on the daily ESPN sports debate talk show Around the Horn. I'm the host of the ESPN 30 for 30 podcast, The King of Crenshaw, on the late, great Nipsey Hussle. And I've also authored 2 books, Dwayne Wade's photographic memoir, Dwayne, and my first official biography, which came out in May. It Was All a Dream, Biggie and the World That Made Him, which is, of course, a biography of the late Notorious B.I.G. And again, yes, class of 2008 graduate, repping Hampton everywhere I go. If it wasn't for Hampton, I wouldn't be at ESPN right now, but we can get into that in a little bit.
Thank you, Justin, and thank you, SA, again for joining me. We're going to just jump right into some questions that are coming from the students. And so for the first question, what did your experience at Hampton University, or how did your experience at Hampton University benefit you? We'll start ladies first. SA, join us.
Yeah, I mean, I was on a volleyball scholarship. So first of all, I didn't have to pay for college. But also I think being a student athlete has undoubtedly helped me in every area of my career, of my life. Every interview I've ever had, they brought up me being a student athlete, which I thought was strange. I'm like, okay, I'm 5 years out, 10 years out. And they still are like, oh, no, you were a student athlete. And there's so much value on that. But what I'll say is, as good as my education was, I truly think that the crown jewel of Hampton is the people. And for me, the relationships and the friendships that I have from Hampton University have, without a doubt, made the biggest impact on my life, personally and professionally. When you go somewhere, one, you have the HBCU love, but then that Hampton love just hits different. And for me, my best friends are my teammates from college. My best friends are, from Hampton University. Like 99% of them are from Hampton University. And just how that has shaped me as a woman, as a professional. I think the diversity that I brought to the NFL gave me opportunities. I started the Black Employee Resource Group there. I led a lot of the diversity efforts and the social justice efforts. And a lot of the programs that you see today at the NFL, they started with a lot of the work that I did, but that was rooted in me being this unapologetically Black, young, bold woman. And that came from me going to Hampton, because all I know is Black. All I know is Black excellence. And so I noticed how I carried myself differently than a lot of my peers in the corporate setting, because they didn't come from this safe space that we have at Hampton, that we have at HBCUs. So it's benefited me literally in every inch of my life and my career. And I know whatever I want to do, there's a Hamptonian that can help me do it or point me in the right direction.
You know, Essay hit the nail on the head in terms of just the people connection, because that's what's helped me so much. Now, I will say during my senior year at Hampton, I was I'll be honest with you. I was like, all right, I need this amount of credits to graduate. I only got to take 12 credits my first semester of my senior year, so I'm about to just chill, because like the thing is, when you're in college, it kind of feels like it's gonna last forever. But those 4 years go by in the blink of an eye. It's what my mother, she always told me that. My mother, she's an HBCU graduate as well. She graduated from South Carolina State University. And she would always tell me that, like, yo, it's the people that made my time there as memorable as it is. This is why she still goes back almost 50 years after she graduated from SC State. And so I took a class like my first semester senior year. So this is like fall '07. And it was like an intro to blogging class. I had no clue what blogging was in 2007. I was like, man, this is probably going to be an easy A. I just need it. And I'm going to just chill my senior year. I want to party. I want to do all of this. It actually turned out to be probably the most important class that I took at Hampton, because once I graduated in 2008, and this was just to give you some historical context, this was like when the recession first hit. Like Obama's campaigning for president the first time, and like there are no jobs out there. So at Hampton, I was always known as the dude. I sold mix CDs back when you could actually sell mix CDs. I know that sounds like an archaic type of concept now, but I used to sell CDs. So once I graduated, I created a website so all of my friends from Hampton could just go to the website and download music. And from there, I just started writing more and writing more. I started picking up freelancing because I was a member of the Hampton Script my senior year while I was there. And so, to make a long story much, much shorter, and this is where the people come back in. So it was homecoming 2014. And for all the alumni, you remember when the Student Center Day Party was, of course, in the Student Center, which was a crazy concept to begin with anyway. But while I'm in there, one of my older frat brothers, because I crossed Alpha in 2007, one of my older frat brothers came up to me and said, yo, I want to introduce you to somebody who works at ESPN. Now, before then, I've been applying for jobs at ESPN. I was just putting my resume into like a black hole, never heard anything back. I'm like, man, y'all could at least tell me no. Like, at least tell me no and what I can do to get better. But, I just wasn't hearing anything. So he introduced me to a young lady named Kalila, who at that point in time, she was Mike Wilbon's executive assistant. Mike Wilbon, of course, is the legendary journalist. He's been on PTI for 20 years, formerly with the Washington Post, like a legend in all ways in journalism. And she forwarded my writing samples to some people at ESPN. And I promise I lied to you not. Because of Hampton. This is because of Hampton. I've been applying for jobs at ESPN for about 5-6 years at that point, never heard anything back. Within 2 weeks of me sending her my stuff, she called me back and was like, yo, somebody from ESPN wants to talk to you. And I'm like, about what? Like, what could they possibly want to talk to me about? They like my work. And this is November 2014. By January 5th, 2015, and I remember it because it was the day after Stuart Scott passed, I was on a one-way flight from Richmond, Virginia to Los Angeles, California, starting my job at ESPN. And it was because I was at homecoming, I was connecting with people, and connecting with people will connect you with more people from Hampton, and they got my stuff in the right room. So I honestly owe everything that I'm doing to Hampton. So
That's dope.
That is really dope. And again, she did hit it on the head, Justin, as far as just that people connection, because that's also how we're all connected as well, because we were at Hampton at different times, right? And so I just think that it's really just important to recognize that value there, because you just never know who you're sitting next to in the classroom, who their mom and daddy is. You don't you never know. But those are the people that can make a quick phone call, like, oh, okay, this is what you would like to do. Oh, I know such and such. I know I can do this. Oh, so I think that that's just very important. And so we'll go right into the next question from the class. So how can or how did networking influence your career? And we kind of touched upon that, but in
Yeah.
particularly, going to networking events, and then I guess along your journey, you get to know different networking events that you can go to, and then also share and pass that down. So overall, just how did networking influence your career? But if y'all want to elaborate, go right on ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's the people, right? So now Hampton gives you the people, but then you still have to have the skills to build those meaningful relationships. So it's like, I know Justin, I know Elise, but you have to foster those relationships. And it's hard because we all have a lot going on. We all live in different places, but there's little things you can do just to show support. Like if I see Justin on anything, he knows like I'm gonna repost it, I'm gonna show love, and vice versa. And if I have a question about something with ESPN, like he's one of the people that I'm going to reach out to. Or if I see something crazy, I'm gonna be like, what y'all doing over there? Right. And it's like, but again, it's like keeping those relationships. And, I always want to be somebody where I feel like most people that know me, they know if they need something, I can help them. They know they can reach out to me. Like I'm always going to connect you with somebody. I'm going to tell you what I know, what I don't know, who I know. But it's about building meaningful relationships. And I think what people don't talk about a lot is every relationship is not going to be great. Like you can tap in with people and it's just not a vibe, or, all all skin folk and kinfolk. And, you have to really find like who are those people that feel genuine and that, have helped you, and like how do you reciprocate that and how do you show that love back? And I feel like it's like dating. You're not going to hit it off with everybody, but you just need a few good people that you can really tap in with and build with and trust. And that doesn't mean you talk to them every day, but like it's genuine. And whenever we need each other or whenever we see each other, it's real. And for me, I feel like I did a really good job of building like meaningful connections. But also, you got to show up to places. You got to put yourself out there. You have to tell people your dreams. You have to tell people your goals, because you never know who you're talking to. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, I just want to talk to Essay. And it's like, well, what have you talked to your athletic director? Have you talked to this person? Because those people know me too, and they know me better than you do. So you think that that person can help you, so you don't want to show them love, but I'll probably have a relationship with them. You don't know who they know. So always keep an open mind. And I feel like I always did that. I wasn't like a clout chase, like I need to talk to the number one person and here or there. Justin just said Khalila was an EA. You know what I mean? Like he didn't say, oh, you work for Michael Wilbon? How can you help me? No, like those are the gatekeepers. And so you have to really like just show love and be genuine, and people will see that. One event that, for anyone that wants to be a lawyer, Sports Lawyers Association is an amazing conference where all the legal people in sports go, like agents, general counsels. And people told me like, if you want to get a job at a team, this is when I was still at the NFL, this is where you need to go. I went, you got to be social, go to happy hours, go to different things. I met the general counsel of the Carolina Panthers. We really didn't talk that much. We had a few conversations. A few months later, like I'm getting a call like, hey, I think you're about to get a job at the Carolina Panthers. And I'm like, really? Like, I didn't even think I really talked to Steve. But it's all of those things. So you have to not just know the people, you have to build the relationships, and you have to represent. The person who recommended me for the job at the Carolina Panthers, I had went out of my way to tell him what I wanted to do to build a relationship with him, and he put me on. And so your name is in rooms that your feet hasn't entered yet, but it's how I represented myself to him is why he put me, up for the Panthers job and recommended me so strongly. So show up, tell people what you want to do, but most of all, be genuine and treat everybody with respect, because you never know who knows who. And if I call Justin, you're not going to know that I'm calling Justin about you. So you have to watch how you interacted with Justin. Have you been professional with Justin? Did you follow up when you said you're going to follow up? Were you kind? Has he heard anything bad about you? Because that's what he's going to tell me, and you'll never know. So I think that's just a big part of networking and how it's helped me in my career.
Yeah, and just to follow up on, I mean, what Essay said just about you have to be genuine, and you can't always just Google a company or a job and you want to go straight to the CEO. What she said is just like, you have to know who the gatekeepers are. The CEO and the CFO aren't the gatekeepers. They have too much to worry about within their daily roles. Like, so if you meet the person at the front desk when you walk into a company or organization and you get in good with them, like that person will tell you wherever you need to go to, most benefit you. But also, and another thing too is like, yes, you want to network. Networking is great, and you have to know how to network. But the most one of the most important things is you have to bring something to the table as well. Like I'll tell you this, in essays, I know she's gonna laugh soon as she hears this. Do not walk up to somebody and say, "Oh, I just want to pick your brain." Like, please don't say that. Please, that is a red flag times 100. Like, if you want to talk to somebody specifically, have at least 2 to 3 questions in your mind that you want to ask, specific questions, because you can't just ask, "Oh, how did you get here?" Like, that's such a loaded question, and you don't have time to listen to that person give their entire career, and they're not going to give you the entire spiel. Like, if you want to talk to somebody, if you know somebody is going to be in an event where you want to go to, do your due diligence. Google who
Yes.
that person is. Look at their LinkedIn. Look at their history. So you have to bring as much to the table as you can, because nobody's just going to hand you a quote unquote dream job. Like, you're going to have to work for it, and always go into these events with questions, like specific questions in mind, even if it's just 1 or 2, because once you start talking to somebody, then you'll start to understand, okay, I need to follow up on what this person said about this. I need to follow up on what that person said about that. And, SA mentioned a really good conference in terms of like lawyers, and you're trying to get into that space. For any of the journalists out there, I recommend the NABJ conference, National Association of Black Journalists. I know so many people there who have gotten jobs, fellowships, internships. And these are people, like Black people within the industry, who want to give the next generation of journalists, editors, producers, whatever the case may be, what that step is, because we're only going to change the demographics, what the makeup of our industry looks like, if we give the next generation a shot. But the next generation has to understand, like, I have to bring something to the table as well. So always do your research, always do your due diligence, and as SA said, you have to be genuine, because people are going to understand, and they're going to know off the rip, like, okay, this person really doesn't care to know who I am. They just want to get something out of the deal. And they get that 99% of the time anyway. So how are you going to differentiate yourself from the 2,000 other people who come up to them like, "Oh, I know somebody who needs a job with this, that, and the third." And so you, again, as SA said, you have to be genuine, but you have to do your research and know who you're talking to, and not just, brush somebody off to the side because, oh, you're somebody's secretary. You don't know. The secretary knows everything and everybody.
And let me add to that, because I know sometimes money and resources can be, a prohibitor to like going to certain things. Prioritize that. I don't care if you got to eat on the dollar menu. If there's a conference that you can get to, it is worth so much more than the cost of attending. And so I don't care if you got to ask, okay, who do I know in this city that I can sleep on their couch? I know people that, were driving like for conferences or things that the NFL did. They were driving from, South Carolina. Whatever you have to do to get into that space, do it and sacrifice, because it's going to pay off. There were so many times that I showed up, I was broke, I had borrowed money from my sister or whoever to get there, but I had to get into that room because the value in that room, like, is going to pay off tenfold. And you're not even going to think about that you had to eat, off the dollar menu for months to save up. So you have to put your priorities straight. You got a pair of J's, go sell them. Like, you're not going shopping. You need that one good outfit to show up that 1 or 2 days to present yourself well. But I know that a lot of times, well, I can't afford. You can. And I don't care if you got to fundraise. It is worth it to get into these rooms. NABJ, like SLA, like all these conferences, they are worth so much more, because people like me and Justin, we don't go to a lot of places, right? There's a few places that you're going to find us where we're accessible, because 1, we have demanding jobs, and 2, we just don't like going to all these other conferences that don't really benefit us. So these few valuable places, go, save up, borrow, whatever you need to do to get into those rooms, it's worth it.
We're
And
going to
one more
jump.
thing on top of that, use your network at Hampton. Talk to your professors because a lot of these conferences,
Yes.
especially for students, like they'll sponsor students to
Mhm.
go. You know, like
You can volunteer to work the conference and
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
volunteer to work the conference. Like closed mouths don't get fed. So
Absolutely.
use
Absolutely.
all of your resources. They here for a reason. Resources are resources for a reason. You
Yeah.
gotta source them. So
While we're adding, I want to add how important it is to be patient during this process. They're giving you some great conferences, but it takes patience. Sometimes you just don't get in or go the first time or the first year. But if it's something that you really want and you are really pursuing, then you're going to pursue it, right? And so, adding on to that, I just think that it's also, again, just important to be patient. And so we'll go right into the next question, guys. What advice, we'll start with Justin this time. What advice would you give to student athletes?
oh, that's a really good question, especially nowadays because the landscape is so different than when SA was playing volleyball at Hampton. Like now, you have to understand that yes, you're a student athlete, but you bring so much more in terms of like your value and just your. I hate using the word brand, but that is the right word to use, and you don't always have to be the best player on a team. You don't have to be playing the super money making type of sport to understand that like I can be way more than just the sport that I'm playing at my school. And so like with the NIL, that's a very imperfect process and imperfect procedure, which I get, but also make sure you're talking to people within these schools like, okay, what can I do to make sure I'm accentuating my time here with this sport and this platform that I do have? Because as an athlete, you have a platform that honestly I would say 90 to 95% of the other students on campus don't have. You are presenting a talent that is beneficial, extremely beneficial to the university, hence why they recruited you there. So understand that like yes, whatever your sport is, like I'm just using essay right now because she's right here and she played volleyball. So yes, you play volleyball and that's great. But what are your other interests, and how can you use your talent to make people interested in what your other interests are? Which is why you see a lot of athletes, a lot of student athletes, doing podcasts now, starting their own YouTube videos and TikTok and all this other type of social media. So understanding that for student athletes there's a supreme value within that platform, but also understanding it's like, I'm still here because I'm still a student as well. Like making sure that you're staying on top of like whatever your responsibilities are, because once you graduate and once you leave the school, there's going to be so many different type of responsibilities that you have to balance, that you have to manage, that if you do that well while you're in college, that transition into the quote unquote real world will be, I won't say it won't be easy, but you'll know how to manage it a lot better because I handled this, I handled that, and it's going to help you in so many ways that you're going to get to pursue so many other interests that you have outside of sports, and you can put this on a resume. You can say like, this is the value that I bring while pursuing this other interest while I'm still playing this sport. So, I mean, talk to your athletic directors. There's a lot of NIL professionals at schools nowadays that their sole job is to help athletes harness this type of platform and this type of expertise to benefit themselves moving forward, even long after they leave college. So there's a ton of advice I can give. I'm sure Essay has a ton of great advice herself, being a student athlete, well, former student athlete. I don't know if you still play volleyball or not, but you're probably a lot
Ooh.
better at that than I am. But she can give you a lot better advice than I probably could.
No, I mean what Justin said is great, and on point. I didn't have like we had Facebook, but like the social media that you guys have, just to build your brand. And I think how are you branding yourself? As an athlete, as a student athlete, as a person, as a professional, like you have so many outlets to brand yourself. So by the time you're seeking opportunities, people are going to go to your social, and it's like, who is Essay? What type of person is she? What interest does she have? All those things like you can control. We really couldn't control. So like if ESPN wasn't writing about you, or if you weren't this big time, like you didn't have a platform and you didn't have a brand, and so now you do. I think, you know, I would say lean into being a student athlete. Every conversation you have, tell people you're a student athlete. There's just a level of respect that, you know, people have for athletes and student athletes. One, they know you're going to be competitive and they know you're going to be, you know, dedicated, right? Like the level of dedication you have to be a collegiate athlete. All those things, you have this assumption about you, and you almost have to like do something wrong to tell people that you're not those things, because those things are associated with being a student athlete and being an athlete in general. So I would say everybody you talk to, every interview that you have, every resume you have, put that on there. Like that, those 2 bullet points are going to probably be more meaningful, especially in the early years of your career, than anything else, because it tells people so much about you. You know, I used to always say, I'm a volleyball player. I'm very competitive, but I'm also a team player. That's what every team wants in corporate America, right? They want somebody who wants to be great and do great things, but they also want to know that you can work with your teammates and work with your coworkers. I leaned into those 2 things because that is what volleyball is. It's the ultimate team sport. But if you pass me the rock, I'm going to do something with it. And so those are the 2 attributes that I always leaned into in every interview. And it always served me well. And people are so fascinated by sports. You know, sports is the ultimate connector. And you have to lean into that and it will benefit you. So don't try to say, I don't want people to know me as an athlete. No, you do. What you also need to show is what Justin said, that you're smart, that you're talented off the court or off the field, but you want people to know that you're an athlete, because there's only positive things that come with being an athlete. There's nothing negative unless you bring something negative to it. And I think that's benefited me. And I think, you know, any student athlete should lean into the very nature of who you are. And that's going to be a part of your identity. I still think like a jock. When I'm in the NFL, I can relate to the players the way a lot of people can't, right? Because I played volleyball. I spent all my time with the football players because we're the same season. We're all in the training room together, and we have that bond of being an athlete. So that helped me, because not only do I understand the business of the NFL, I also know what it's like to be an athlete. I speak their language. I know what they're going through. We come from the same places. And they also love, oh, you're an athlete, like you're like me, but you also understand the other side of the business. So now I have a different relationship with players that everybody else in the front office doesn't have. And that was a huge advantage for me in my career. And it's how I got my job at House of Athlete.
So to add to that, because that's all great input, and this it's a part 2 question, especially for the student athletes, and how their journey, their sports journey, really translate into how it translates into an actual career within sports and entertainment. And so I wanted specifically you guys on this panel because you have so much perspective to give, right? And sometimes what I'm learning when I go back and speak in the classrooms is that it's hard for students to get from point A to point B because no one is really telling them the in-between process and really what it takes. And we have some young, bright king and queen sitting in the classroom that are truly, they don't know. They graduate and they still don't know. And so for me, this panel and this event is, again, just one of many where we could help them get to that earlier, especially way before, they graduate. And so prime example, again, if you want to be a writer, but you are a student athlete, you would follow and research a Justin Tinsley career. Absolutely, right? If you were a student athlete volleyball player and you wanted to be a lawyer, woo, essay, you doing it, girl. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't play collegiate sports or professionally, but I am an athlete. Listen, volleyball, cheered, I played football, broke my finger, basketball, all of that. I just decided when I got to Hampton University, I knew when to hang up my cleats. And I always had a passion for, how do I help people like me? I want to be behind the scenes, but I am a dot connector, and here I am now. And so I just want to give, again, the students who are watching so many different perspectives and also things to consider, right? Because your journey is not going to be the same as ours. You have to find and hone in on your skills, right? And so we'll jump right into the next question, because this is good conversation. So again, this goes right into after HU. then what? What do I do? So we'll start with essay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I that's a that's not an easy process. I took a gap year. So, I stayed in Virginia. I sold cars at CarMax before I went to law school. And so it was good for me. Like I had a crazy senior year. And like Justin said, I kind of checked out. And after volleyball, I didn't have any structure and I lost my mind. So I was like, let me just take a year to kind of figure out where I want to go to law school, what I want to do. And so, that's what I did. I think one regret is, not doing that my senior year, right? And taking advantage of the resources, asking people, talking to people, reaching out to former, alumni and, different programs that were available to me. So I think one, do the work, your junior and senior year so you don't graduate without a plan. But know that you don't have to have everything figured out when you graduate. But what you do have to have is drive and determination to be on that journey. And everybody's journey, is different. Like for a while, I was kind of down, like, damn, I'm taking this gap year. Like everybody else is going off and figuring out their life. And I'm just here kind of working in CarMax, waiting to get into law school. But look at me now, right? So it's not how you start, it's how you finish and how you keep going. I think one thing is, I tell people all the time, you want to make a list. One column is all the things you're interested in, like what makes you happy, like, drawing, writing, sports, acting, whatever it is. And then the other column is what are you good at? Just like what are your skills? Are you a good writer? You might like writing, but are you a good writer? You might like sports, but do you actually know anything about sports? You might like analytics, but do you know analytics? Wherever those two things meet, right? That's probably where your career is going to be. What you're interested in and what you're good at. And where those two things meet, that's where you should probably focus on. This is where your career should be. And I think a lot of that is just self-discovery. Like we're always, and I think in social media, we're looking at everybody else. Okay, Essay's doing this, Justin's doing that. You got to run your own race. What do you like and what are you good at? Or what are you willing to work to be good at? Because sometimes you might have to go back to school. You might have to go to grad school. But that's where you need to focus on. And then I feel like you'll get a lot of clarity. But also talk to people. If you want to know what it's like to be a lawyer, find a lawyer and ask them what their day-to-day is. If you want to know what it's like to be, a writer, then do that. But I feel like you have to really talk to people to kind of understand what those careers are like. And a lot of that is just research. You really just have to spend the time to research. And you guys have way more resources than we ever had. LinkedIn is a gold mine for your career. You can learn about jobs. You can literally just research who are professionals that went to Hampton. Like that simply. And then you can literally just spend out your free time, which you have a lot of it, to figure out who I can reach out to. And most of the time, if it's a Hamptonian, they're going to make time for you, but you just have to come correct, like Justin said. But that's really what happens is, what are you good at? What are you interested in? And then that really should set you on the path. But it's not going to be easy and it's not going to be handed to you.
Not at all. Like, no, if it was going to be easy, then everybody would do it. That's such a cliche thing to say, but it's actually the honest to God truth. But, the question is, after HU, then what do I do? You need to start thinking about after Hampton while you're still at Hampton. Because again, that 4 years, that 5 years, however long it may take you, that's going to go by. If you think about it, like if you want to live a long life, you want to live, be a grandparent, do all these type of things, live a long, long life. Like 4 or 5 years is just going to be a snapshot of that. So you need to start thinking about after Hampton while you're still at Hampton. And if you want to work in the sports industry, if you want to be a lawyer, as SA said, you need to start reaching out to these people now. And you can do that like within the realm of campus. Like if you're interested in the business operations of a team or of a college or of an athletic department, like go to the athletic department at Hampton and be like, hey, how do y'all manage the books here? Like, how do y'all handle recruiting? How do y'all do this? Because there's no need to ask those questions once you graduate, when those answers are still there while you're in school. And once you start getting, because the thing about finding an answer. It's all, as Essay said, it's all a journey. It's all a journey of self-discovery. So once you get one answer, that one answer is going to lead you to two more. Those two answers are going to lead you to four more. And then you're like, well, at the start of this journey, I thought I wanted to do this, but after getting 8, 9, 10 answers, I think I'm gonna pivot and do this. So that you can start doing that now and use these resources while you have that now. And like for student athletes, if you're playing on a team, and you want to be like, I still want to work in sports. How can I do this? What interests you about the business of sports? Because sports is a business. It isn't just a game. It hadn't been a game in a long, long time. I just published a story earlier today. It's for a 4-part series on LeBron and, his impact on the business. Well, the first part is about his impact on the business of sports and about how, like, yes, LeBron is a one of one in terms of, the type of athlete that he is. But we discussed the business of sports completely different from how we did 15, 20 years ago. And there's so many more opportunities. There's so many more ways to be like, you know what, I want to have my say so in this part of the world that I'm interested in. As Essay said, like, I'm a competitive person, but I'm also a team player. Like those lessons that you learn while playing a sport, that's basically what your career is going to be like, regardless of wherever you work. If you work for somebody else, if you work for yourself, you're going to have to know how to work with other people. So understand these lessons that you're getting right now and apply those lessons to whatever it is that you want to do in life. You got to be, if you got to be hungry in anything that you do, whether you're an athlete or whether you're not. Like if it's something that you're interested in right now at 20, 21, 22 years old, go pursue that. You're not beholden to whatever your passion is at 21, 22 when you turn 31 or 32 or 41 or 42, because life is going to take you in a bunch of different directions. But wherever your passion is, follow that passion and start asking questions, do your digging, do your research, because the internet, the way it is now, if you harness it in a good way, it could change your life for the better in ways that you can't see possible. So you need to start doing this now while you're sitting in your dorm or you're sitting in your apartment. Like, you know what? Let me Google this part of the industry that I'm interested in and see how I can begin to make connections there. Because I'm gonna tell you this, the answers that you're looking for are a lot closer than you're probably thinking. Like I've had a lot of people come up to me like, well, I want to work at ESPN. I want to do Stephen A. Smith's job as soon as I graduate from college. Like that's just not going to happen. You have to understand this journey. You have to understand this process, and that the journey and the answers to that process are closer to your fingertips than you can imagine right now.
That's good. That's really good. Justin, we're gonna go right into the next question because you actually kind of shared some information that I was gonna ask you about the LeBron article that you just dropped. So you beat me to it. But we'll go right into the next question too, because it's something that Essay kind of spoke about as she was answering the previous question, as far as tell us, what does a typical day, a work day look like for you? And that's something, again, when you meet someone, that's a really good question to ask. And so we'll jump right into that question.
Yeah. So one, I want to reiterate, this is such an important question because a lot of times you see people's titles and you have no idea what they do. Like you just don't. And it's almost impossible to. One, every company is different, but also titles can mean different things at different companies, and they can mean different things to different people. And so a lot of times it's like, oh, I want to be this. And it's like, do you even know what they do every day? Because you got to make sure that what they do every day matches, one, what you want to wake up and do every day. But two, are you good at it? Right. And so that's just such an important question to ask. And I'm so glad I learned to ask that question early on in my career, because I realized I don't know what these titles mean. Like, okay, when you wake up, like, are you on meetings, all day? Are you writing a lot? Are you drafting contracts all the time? So it's just important. So for me right now, I love my job. So like I said, I support the marketing of Apple TV Plus. So hopefully y'all have Apple TV Plus. If not, shameless plug, download it, pay for it. But so the marketing team, they have to market all of the shows and films. So if you go on Twitter, if you go on Instagram, you'll see Apple TV Plus, and Apple TV have social channels. If you're watching, if you go to the movies, you'll see trailers. anything that is marketing and publicity around our shows and films, we have to approve from a legal standpoint. So every day I wake up and I have an inbox full of requests from our marketing and publicity teams saying, "Hey, this is our campaign strategy for this new movie. This is, how this is the tone that we want to have for the marketing. We want to, focus on these actors, to for social clips. We want to use these clips from the film or these clips from the show." All of that has to be legally approved. So I have to make sure that, the marketing is in line with the agreements with talent. So if it's Denzel Washington, he's going to have very specific terms as to how you can use his name, his image, and his likeness in marketing around, this project. So the marketing team, they're not experts in that. They're creatives. So they're like, look, this is what we want to do. And legal is telling them what they can do. Okay, you can do this, but Denzel may have to approve X, Y, and Z because in his contract with us or in his contract with the studio, he says that he has full approval rights, anytime his, image appears or anytime his image appears in this specific way. So that's what I spend a lot of my day doing is advising our marketing and publicity, teams as to what they can do, how they can do it, and to make sure that one, it's intact with it's in line and complicit with all of our contracts with talent and the studio, but also there are regulations around how you can market and advertise things, from a legal standpoint. So we can't, if I'm paying Justin Tinsley to, help market our new sports documentary, he can't just post and not put that he's either a partner or this is an ad, because that is, deceiving the consumer. So if people value Justin's opinion and they think like, oh, wow, he just genuinely likes, this film. It's like, yeah, he might genuinely like it, but he also got paid to tell you that. And so he has to disclose that. And we have to disclose that Justin isn't just being, a fan. He is actually being paid to tell you that this is a great, sports documentary. And he has to communicate that. And you can get creative in how you communicate that. But I'm the legal person that says, okay, he needs to add hashtag ad, or he needs to say, my partners over at Apple having a new amazing, whatever it is, like I have to make sure that it's legally sound. So anytime you see those hashtag ads or those hashtag, partner or hashtag, Apple partner or Adidas partner or whatever, that's where that legal person behind the scenes is like, you need to add that so the consumer and the viewer knows that this is a paid partnership. This isn't you just being nice and telling people to buy this or go see that. So a lot of my day is just advisory, some contract drafting, but a lot of it, I just really get to, participate in the creative process. And all of the creative you see around Apple TV Plus comes across, my team's desk.
Yeah, a typical day for me, it kind of varies. The one thing I do value about my job, and I truly cherish it, is that I got a lot of freedom. I basically I work from home. I was working from home a lot even before the pandemic started, and it's just one of those things. Freedom comes with trust, and once you're in journalism, at least, once your editors really trust you, one to pitch really good ideas, to do great work on those ideas, and then deliver on those ideas, that's when you start to develop freedom. And freedom is the most expensive currency you can ever have within journalism. So for me, it's a typical day is just waking up, check my emails, follow up on interviews, reach out to other people for interviews. If I have a column I need to write, I make sure I get that done early because I want to get that to editors as quickly as possible, because a lot of things are time sensitive, especially columns, because you're responding to something that happened. So I make sure I get that done early in the day. And once I check off all of my priorities in terms of work, then I could pursue other interests, whether it's like speaking engagements I want to do. I can, I talk with my agent about negotiating the contracts for that. So my day varied. And then if I do around the horn, I have a weekly production meeting where we go over the topics that are going to be on the show. I go in to film around 2 o'clock. We finish around 3. Head home, and the show airs at 5. So I have a lot of freedom within my job, and my typical day just really involves me just following up on responsibilities that, you know, I know if my name is attached to anything, I'm not gonna let it fall by the wayside. Like that's very important. Like your name is your name. You know, not to quote Pusha T or not to quote The Wire, but your name is your name. You know, so I value my name. I value the work that I put out. And once I check all that off, then you can just, for me, I could just go on about my life and pursue other interests even outside of my job.
We're going to jump into a few more questions that's coming in. And I think it's important to talk about how we have overcome some life challenges. And I'll just start. Life is just going to throw you some curveballs, really. I think that, you can prepare as much as you can, but life is just going to come at you. And so for me, I think that I just start with how important the preparation is to be in a position to kind of handle those life challenges. SA, what do you think about how have you overcome some challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been the underdog, in sports, and professionally. So I think for me, starting off, I graduated law school. I didn't have a job. I had an internship, during law school with the Vikings. But I didn't want to go to a big firm. And, I was coming from FAMU. It's not considered a top, law school. So, I didn't have people beating down my door to hire me. I ended up taking an internship with NFL Films, after law school, making minimum wage with, a law degree and, barred in the state of Maryland. That was a huge challenge. Like my sister was helping me pay my bills. I'm working at, in retail at nighttime. It was a very hard time for me, but everybody at NFL Films has so much love and respect for my dedication and my hustle. And till this day, like that's my family. And that's how I ended up getting a full-time job at the NFL league office. But that was not a fun time, right? But on Instagram and Facebook, you wouldn't have known because you saw me at NFL things. You saw me in Hawaii at Pro Bowl. I was broke in Hawaii. Like I didn't have, I could barely like cover the incidental fee because it was free, but you still got to put your card down. Those are all struggles that social media is not going to tell you. I speak about it all the time because I want people to know that if you look at my Instagram, if you look at my Facebook, those are the highlights, right? And so you don't know what it took to get there. And I want to tell people that it's not easy. And I overcame all of that. A lot of people would have gave up. A lot of people wouldn't have even taken the internship, out of pride, but I did, and so all of those things I didn't understand at the time. I just believed in myself, but it prepared me for the next thing. I got told no every day. I applied for so many jobs. I reached out to people that never wanted to talk to me on the phone. And then I found myself in meetings with them, 2 years later, asking them, what they wanted to go on their contract. That's the journey, right? But it's full of struggle. It's full of rejection. I left the Panthers in 2020 during the pandemic to join, Brandon at House of Athlete. And my mom passed, unexpectedly 3-4 months later. So now I'm president of a company. I've never been president before. I've never been, a business, executive before. It's the pandemic and I'm grieving, the most, devastating loss, I've ever experienced. And somehow I still have to lead this company, be there for my family, and build something that's never been built before. That's a struggle that, I'm still going through and I'm still processing. But I think you have to, one, have a good tribe around you. You have to have people around you. You can't do it by yourself. And you have to be, comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you have to make decisions on what you're willing to do to get there. Everybody's not built to be broke. Everybody's not built to take a sidestep or take a step back to get forward. You have to figure out what you're willing to do to get ahead. And I think for me, everything has paid off because I knew what I was willing to do and the price I was willing to pay. But my whole career has been, being the underdog and overcoming challenges. When everybody thought I couldn't do something, I knew I could. But yeah, it hasn't been easy, but it certainly has been rewarding, just because I know everything that it took to get here.
So before Justin jumps in, we're going to bring in another guest into the show. Welcome, Monet Davis. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good to see you. Thank you for joining into the conversation with us. Really, it's just we're having a conversation amongst us peers, and alum and soon to be alum, and just trying to bridge that gap. Right, we have some dope alumni doing some big things, as you see, SA and Justin. And so the question is really, um, how do we overcome, or how have you overcome some life challenges?
Um, let me see. Let me see. I mean, I'm still pretty young, so I still have plenty of life ahead. Um, but it's just some difficult decisions that I had to make. I always just result back to family and to the people that I trust. And it's all about making sure that whatever I do, will I, be happy with it? Will that help me later on? Um, I try not to think of like, you know, short term goals. I try to think of long term goals. So, if something that I don't want to do or something, is challenging, I always try to make sure that long term I'm putting myself in the best position possible. And I know the adults around me are also looking at it that way, and make sure that, I'm happy and that I'm not doing it for anyone else and I'm doing it for myself.
You know, just to go off what Monet said, and I'll try to give some final thoughts because I've got to jump off for another event in a few minutes. But it's really what Monet and it's really what Essay said. Like, whoever your circle is around you, you're going to depend on them a lot more than you may realize. Because the thing about life is, it's always going to be a hurdle. Yeah, you may get your dream job like, oh, I've been working for this my entire life. That don't mean you're never going to encounter adversity for the rest of your life. That don't mean you're never going to have setbacks or hurdles that you need to clear because they're going to come. They're going to present themselves, in different ways. I'm blessed to be able to do something I love for work. I'm blessed to be able to, pursue different avenues and different engagements that I like to jump in. But I still have issues. I was just like a couple of hours before I jumped on this call, I was just on with the family member, and I'm telling them like, I need you to take care of yourself. Like I need you to go get some help. I need you to go do this. So like these type of things are gonna always be present. Like tough times don't last, tough people do, but good times don't last, but good people do. And good people go through some really traumatic stuff throughout their life. And I didn't want to say stuff, but you know what word that I wanted to say. And for me, like, and I say it all the time, like one of the things that's really, really helped me, and I'm a work in progress in every sense of the phrase, but one of the things that's helped me out a lot, I've been going to therapy for almost 5 years. Been going to therapy, pretty religiously, at least once a month for almost 5 years. And sometimes you just get in that room and you just need to basically just decompress. Like, yo, I need to get all of this off my chest. I don't really need you to respond. I just need you to listen. And every time once I leave there, I feel better. And it's okay to sit. It's okay to be like, yo, I'm not okay right now. Like, allow me this moment to like. I'm trying to process a lot of different things at once, and you have to understand the struggles are always going to be there. So you overcome a struggle now, and that's great. But you're also going to have to overcome a struggle in a couple of years because you just don't know what that struggle is going to be. And just always understand that life is nothing but ebbs and flows. But the one thing that's going to remain consistent is how you approach that ebb and how you approach that flow. So, I look, we all got issues. Everybody on this call right now, everybody watching this right now, we all have issues, whether it's with ourselves, whether it's with our friends, whether it's with our families, finance, friends, whatever. Like there are always going to be issues there, but also understanding like this one issue, as tough as it is, as tragic as it may be, like that's not going to be the thing to break you. But it's also okay to sit in it for a little bit and understand, yo, I'm not okay, but I will be okay, and I'm going to be okay because I don't want my story. I don't want this to be the last chapter of my story.
That's good, Justin. And I'm glad that you mentioned that and you felt free and safe enough for this space to even share that. So that's why I was kind of applauding as well, because that's is awesome. But I'll also share that I've had some life challenges that, yep, went straight to therapy. Absolutely. Went straight there, and I'm not ashamed because it helped me. And I'm like you, Justin. Sometimes I just sit there, or if I just need to cry, or I just need the space to just process, right? And I don't. I think that our society, we need to give us each other grace, that grace. And so we're gonna pivot to some fun questions, but if Monet or SA wanted to add to that, please do feel free.
No, I mean, I think I agree with what, Justin said. You can't be okay with the good times without being okay with the bad times. And, I think those are what builds character. Everybody can survive when things are good, when you're winning. But when you know what loss feels like, and I think being an athlete, you know what it's like to lose a game, and you don't ever want to feel that again. And it fuels you. And so for me, I'm an athlete. So I've lost, a lot. And so, but that only drives me, like, if I get blocked, I want the ball back, and that's the athlete in me. And I think that's what, has fueled me to get over all the challenges that, I faced in my career.
I'm gonna jump into some fun questions. I know, Justin, if you got to jump off, go right on ahead. But fun questions. What made you come to what made you come to HU? What's your best things about Hampton?
I feel like Monet got to answer that because she was probably the biggest recruit. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I feel
Oh
like in
man.
recent Hampton history, Monet is probably our biggest, recruit.
I
Fact.
would say
So
so.
Monet should go first.
Big fact.
Um, Dang. I'd probably say so. I took like my official visit during homecoming. So, everybody knows how homecoming is. Like, as soon as, my parents and I walked up, people were just welcoming me, offering me food, drinks, like everything, just talking about how great Hampton is, how much of a big family it is. So I kind of gravitated to that because I grew up, with my baseball team. We were just a huge family. Everyone was just taken care of. So I wanted that atmosphere. Um, but also just the team atmosphere, the team was like a family as well. It was a smaller school. I wanted to be, pretty close to home. But I mean, it's just the family atmosphere, just coming back, um, and feeling like just a big family. I got to meet so many people from all over the country who were, oh, you go to Hampton, like I'm like, yeah. I could be in like Montana or something, and there's somebody from Hampton, and they're always just super happy that you got to go to one of the best schools in the country. So just the family atmosphere and how welcoming everyone is, and the journalism school as well. I'm a scripts major, so I definitely wanted to go to one of the best journalism programs in the country, and scripts was the place for me.
I love that. I have to say, so I was actually getting recruited by Morgan State. And so I was on my official visit at Morgan State, my senior year of high school. And, it was cool. And they definitely had a better volleyball program at the time. But I was like, are we still on campus? Like, they're like taking me. I'm like, we're like in the heart of Baltimore. What's happening? And so my mom was like, there, I heard of this amazing school down in Virginia. Like, I want to take you to see it. Like, we're here, so let's just drive down. So we drove down on a whim. Didn't have any plans, didn't know what was going on, and it just happened to be the freshman dorm step show. And so Holland Hall was on fire. Justin was probably in there because it was, your freshman year. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this being from Kansas City, Missouri. There's a sea of Black people, but it's all positive, it's all beautiful. It literally looked like what I saw on, a different world. And I was like, I didn't know that this was a real place. I didn't know this was a real thing. And then the gated community, I just felt safe and small. It was, just me and my mom. We were like, okay, we feel a lot better about this, especially being so far away from home. I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU because my sister was a year ahead of me. She went to Jackson State. And she kind of just got the idea in my head. And I was like, what's better than being able to be an athlete and play the sport that I love but also get this once in a lifetime, Black experience. So Hampton was an easy choice once I came to campus.
I just want the record to show that I am the only one that wasn't recruited to come to Hampton. I showed up in Gen Pop like the rest of the students. No, but no. Um, SA just mentioned it. Like her sister went to Jackson State. I grew up around HBCUs my entire life. My mother, of course, went to South Carolina State. My grandmother went to Xavier down in New Orleans, and I had a bunch of family that either coached at or attended Virginia State University. So I grew up going to Virginia State's homecoming. Like that was just a yearly thing. Like I would go there, buy all my mixtapes, and I just love the camaraderie. I love the atmosphere. I love the vibrancy of it. So and my aunt Cheryl, she graduated from Hampton in the 80s. So she would always take me down to like the basketball games during the winter. And I used to love like walking around campus with her. She would take me different places. So when it came time for me to apply, um, I knew I wanted to go to Hampton, and I did the early application process. Like they had a weekend where like high school students could spend like a weekend in a dorm and you could apply like in person. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, I was also one of them people like, bro, I'm not taking this SAT more than twice because the score ain't gonna get no higher. So I know my GPA will get me in, but my SAT, whew, it wasn't pretty. So I applied and I'll never forget, I got in early November 2003, and I was like, that's it. I ain't applying to no more schools because I'm gonna enjoy my senior year in high school. So I knew I was going to an HBCU from elementary school on. It was just a matter of which HBCU, and thankfully I made the correct choice by going to Hampton.
I love to tell this story. I went to HU because of my aunt Sheila Hillman. Y'all got New Holland. We had the old Holland, the back of Holland before you got to the steps and the tailgate and all of that. This Friday and Saturday, you had three big plaques, and it was all of the ballers, female ballers that retired jersey. Well, Sheila Hillman, Elise Hillman, it was a given. I always wanted to go to HU. I just knew it. I applied, I applied. I'm not going to say to where, but I applied. But I just knew it was just like, I am a Hillman and Hampton is in my blood. And I used to hear stories of how bad on the court my aunt used to be. And HU was in the CIAA. So they retired her 3-time all CIAA. And then my other aunt, just for this, because it's just a long lineage of athletes in my family, won the state title at NC State. So it was just like, wow. So that's really why I went to Hampton, because of my aunt Sheila Hillman. Shout out to my
And also your last name Hillman, and Hillman from a different world was based
Right.
off of Hampton. Like you had no other choice but to go to Hampton.
So yeah, look, you said it. But any last words, y'all? We're about to wrap it up. Any last words? I want to just take this time out again to give all of you all your flowers and kudos and praise for doing and killing it in the game and just representing for the standard of excellence, right? So any last words, and then we'll jump off.
Yeah, go ahead. No. Ladies first. You go ahead.
I think, sometimes I feel like, Hampton is amazing, but you may not be able to see how it's going to benefit you in the future. And so if anything, take it from, Justin and I, and, Monet is, much, much younger, but I think is starting to appreciate it as well. Like this journey you're about to embark on, Hampton is only going to help you, and it's going to help you more than you can ever imagine. And that's just off of the strength of Hampton. If you actually tap in and try to make Hampton work for you, possibilities are endless. I've never mentioned Hampton and not gotten, a positive, reaction. It's always helped me. It's always helped me, stand apart. Because there is a standard of excellence. So enjoy your time, but know that it only gets better, once you leave, if you put in that work and you really tap into the Hampton family that's waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah, no, like I'll keep it brief, but as SA just said, like you put in 10%, Hampton's gonna give you the other 90, and like
Mhm.
that 90 is gonna be beautiful in ways that you can't even imagine. But again, you take anything from this conversation, what we talked about earlier, Hampton will Hampton will give you everything that you can imagine and more, but you have to be able to bring something to the table. So again, look yourself in the mirror and be like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to accomplish, and what 10% can I bring to the table so that other 90% can get me across that proverbial or figurative finish line.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of you just said. Just all about putting in the work, you know, like both of you said, if you put in that work, Hampton, just the name will take care of itself later on. So just putting in that work and, putting yourself out there, doing as much as you can because these 4 years go by so fast. And like, I can't believe I'm already graduating in May. So just really just putting in the work and, doing what you're supposed to do. And, Hampton will take care of you.
And I'll end with look us up. We're all on LinkedIn. We're all a message or a communication away. It's nothing that I will stop what I'm doing for to reach out. And if you say, "Oh, I went to Hampton," okay, well, what you need? Okay, it really is. Now, give me some time and be a little patient because I work
Right.
full time and I operate a whole business, a whole small business. So, yeah, look us up and start connecting with us. And so it's been a wonderful and exciting time to bring you all this panel. Join us on Friday. We're going to have a social, we'll have more information that is to come. Again, Justin, thank you. Queen Monet, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that concludes our event. Thank you all.
If you see us at homecoming, say hi. I'm coming in town. So,
Oh yeah, I'll be there Thursday through Sunday. I'll be there all weekend.
all right.